Well, folks. The House of Motherfucking Dragon has shown up. Episode 4 was explosive. There's a lot of emotions, a lot to cover. And we're here to do that and break it all down. Stevie and I are here to talk House of the Dragon, episode 4 from season 2. Whew, take a moment to woosah, folks. Man, there's so much to talk about, and I know we want to get to the battlefield and the battle scenes and everything that occurred, but even beyond that, there was so much other little details in this episode. Alicent looks like she may be contemplating some things. She was really righteous last week, now she's questioning where's those books, even to the point now she's drinking some tea, and looks like that tea may be looking for her another option here. And that can only means she may not be aligned with Christian Cole at all anymore here. And she told the king, her son, she said, do nothing. And of course she does the complete opposite. But nonetheless, we got so much to talk about. So let's start off in the beginning by, as we do each and every week, and just address what did we think of this episode as our quick little review. No too much details, but it's our overall thoughts about episode 4. You go first.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was so good. I feel like that, like, with a show like this, you don't have to have like dragon battles and nonstop action all the time. Yeah. I like the slower episodes because when it does happen, it feels worth it. Like, and I enjoyed it. It felt like a good payoff to what we were building up with so far. Yeah. And then it also gives questions of like what's going to happen with the rest of it. Overall, good episode.
Yeah, I agree. We're big into movie and television here, and then yes, we love our actions, we love our superheroes, we love sci-fi, we love all that good stuff and the powers and all that behind it. But good old storytelling, and when you have that, when you get to these moments in episode 4 at that, like this isn't a finale, it's not even a mid-season finale at that. Like we're just 4 episodes in, and for everything that you might have been complaining about last week about like it being slow, I mean, the build up from last week to this week is just crazy. I mean, we do week to week episode recaps here, but if we were to take like 2 episodes at a time, there's a lot to talk about between the connections between these 2 episodes. And it was by all means great. This was this is one of my favorite episodes in a very long time, just because it just hit on so much. So you all sound off in the comments and or the chat below, however you're watching us today or tonight, and let us know your thoughts about episode 4. Yeah, there was dragons, there was fire, there was death, there was betrayal. There was I guess the more sensitive word, if there's a option B in terms of some things here. So we're going to talk about it all. Okay. Starting off with Daemon now, and he is still on his trippy trip, but we got some clarity on that, so we'll talk about it in a second. But we see him, which is clearly a dream state. He's looking at the Iron Throne. He's hearing voices. It is young Rhaenyra again, and it is sort of tied to his pseudo obsession for the throne and for the crown, even if it means beheading the person that she said you created, which is deep. It is deep. It's deep because
so deep.
Because I think like for us, and even from like mild commentary, you can say like, oh, that's exactly right. But I think once something sits in your subconsciousness, that's when it just gets real. That means like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like these are things he's actively thinking about. And also we know that this place is a little cursed. So I'm not sure, like, yeah. So we're seeing like legitimate thoughts or his that are like coming out, and he's happened to, face them one way or another. But also right after he kind of snaps out of that, after he been hit, you know what? Shout out to what's her name returning for a second episode to have her head cut off.
What is her name?
Champion.
Yeah, Champion. Forgot her name.
Yeah.
But amazing.
But so he gets to his little council, so we say, and he gets an update about what Aegon and Kristen are doing, moving the army, the whole House agreeing all their stuff, and also trying to figure out like who did he inherit by having by getting Harrenhal, which we find out in many ways that Harrenhal ain't so glorified as we thought it was. It's a nice big castle, but everybody ain't on the same page. What did you think about Daemon's face of consciousness, and maybe his rule is not as good as he thought it was going to be?
I like the Daemon stuff. I really like this whole like Harrenhal haunted house, like spooky castle curse stuff. It's so cool. Love it. And I like the fact that he's like really facing all his demons right now. Like he created Rhaenyra, and now it's like he's coming to grips that like if he wants to be king, if that's something that he wants to do, he might have to kill her. And I like that, you know, he's coming to grips with different things. And I feel like this type of thing could be interpreted in so many different ways, but I really like it. And in terms of like Harrenhal, like I started reading the Fire and Blood books, and like back in the day when it was first created, it was like a really big like house to have. It was a really big place, and now it's like nothing. Like now it's like nobody wants it. But I think it was really good. I feel like also I don't know if anyone noticed, and I didn't notice until I watched the second episode, and not the last episode the second time. Like Daemon just be like doing treason, like at Harrenhal, saying that he's the king and stuff like that. Like I really feel like they're going to try to do something with Daemon and him trying to sneak his way into the throne. I feel like there's gonna be some portrayal. There's gonna be some stuff with Daemon. Like, I see it. Feel it.
I see it. I mean, maybe, but I see it just a slightly different. Also, I just made sure I had to look her up. Millie Alcock, coming back as Jean Rhaenyra. I think the thing is that because Harrenhal is so dysfunctional that these folks don't even know how to properly address him. Yeah. And so they're just throwing out things, and like parts of it's like mildly disrespectful, parts of it's like ego stroking, and then it's kind of this like, well, it's fitting. So like it is a lot of confusion. I'm sure that is creating sort of the internal turmoil and chaos in terms of how he needs to like really move forward. And maybe it does result in betrayal, but it certainly will result in some contemplating like what is he going to do, or who is he really is, like facing himself. I think of Harrenhal like Atlantic City. Like at one point, it was like this glorified place that everybody wanted property, and now nobody gives a fuck about.
Now nobody wants it. I could see that. I wouldn't want it either. It's creepy in there.
Yeah. If you've never been to Atlantic City, New Jersey, folks, just think of it as Driftmark. Like, best way I can describe it. Now, speaking of Driftmark, we go there and we see Rhaenys shows up, and of course, you know, she got to have her little FaceTime with her boo real quick. What a powerful episode by Bess. This whole season, but definitely this episode. She's a phenomenal actor, and I think that we saw a lot of range. Eve Bess, I'm calling her by her last name, Eve Bess, and her coming to see the king or her boo. And we also get a little bit of something last week you thought they were the boys were his son. But if I understand this correctly, this might be a little bit more than that. So it is sort of revealed about Adam and Alan's lineage with the holes, which essentially makes them like legitimate bastards, but like of dragon seed descent. If it's what I'm looking up at. So, you know, she addresses it. She says, I know who they are. Obviously, they gain popularity because of their pulling them, rescuing them. But like even with that though, I think it's safe to say that like they are his sons. That's why she touched the skin, and so their last names really shouldn't be Hall. It should be Valerian.
Yeah,
but they don't know.
do. They don't know. I don't think they know. Yeah, I don't think they know. Maybe it's like a Jon Snow and Stark thing going on because he didn't know either.
Yeah,
He was
exactly.
Targaryen, so they could be just saying that stuff to them. But yeah, I do believe they are his sons, which means if they could ride dragons.
That's right. That's right. And right now they down some key soldiers, and I think what I like about this, what I don't like about this show is I like I like if you watch Star Wars, you easily root for the Jedi, except for when there are particular characters that embodies conflict. Like Ahsoka's one. I think if you're watching the Acolyte right now, you're seeing total conflict. That's what Star Wars is conflict. In this show, we see it's war, but it's basically a battle between two houses, two best friends, and so on. So like that. But the show leans so much into wanting you to be a fan of the Targaryens that they're making them seem underpowered. They got the smaller dragons. They have least personnel. So you automatically root for them. And I know nobody likes Aegon. Nobody likes Aemon. I get it. But like I feel like the show should be more structured for you to almost pick exactly who you feel is best. And I feel like it's very biased towards one side. And the reason I'm like I'm stating that as a problem now is because them getting the extra personnel now clearly sounds like a free agent signing in any sport. We're like, oh, they about to go over there and cook. Like this is a big deal. We see it's the foreshadowing that like is cool in a way, but I love the conflict of not really knowing how this is going to play out. This is every underdog story of like, oh, the good guys, they're not going to win. They don't got enough this or that. They're underpowered. The bad guy got da-da-da. And then they eventually come back and win, So in a way, like I'm always rooting pro-black. So I'm like, I can't wait for these brothers to get out there and do what they got to do. But this is kind of like, it's so cliche because we know they're going to have to come in and cook. Even in the show where like no one's safe. But I think that like the death later on in the episode we'll talk about is definitely going to catapult that mission. It's going to have him come to truce with it and realize how much he needs. Just like he came in, King Cole comes in, because you know one thing about my man. You ain't going to talk about his lady. He going to hit that from 1,000 miles away. The moment you puff your chest out, my lady, you know I'm coming through. You know what I mean? So,
like I said last episode, the healthiest relationship in the show.
And that's all she wanted. She wanted his presence there because she knows it's her story. Rhaenys' story is so emotional because we'll talk so much more about it in a minute. But she knew that Rhaenyra needed him. Yeah. She essentially sacrificed herself, her love for him, and everything to draw him back to the council to give her sound advice. Yeah. That's like way too deep than I was expecting for this episode.
I agree.
Jeez. But he also mentioned that Bailey. Yeah, Bella. Thank you. Has requested everybody back. So that was, part of the beginning of that. But anyway, we go to King's Landing. Alicent is looking nervous because, well, she's a little startled when that door knocked. Yeah, and she the Grand Maester comes in and presents her some tea. And this moon tea and exactly what it does. What did you think of this?
I think basically, well, one, we know what the moon tea is for. And I saw it from like a mile away. I'm like, oh, is she possibly pregnant? Because that's not good. Like we saw that what happens with that with Rhaenyra and her sons, her bastard children, and things like that. I like that she is coming to grips that like maybe she was wrong. That she was wrong with assuming that he was talking about that Aegon. Like, And I like the fact that she is like asking around, asking questions. She's doing her research, and she's like really reconsidering what's happening right now. And I think that's good. I thought that whole thing is interesting. I'm interested to see how that plays out later in the season as well. So yeah, no, I think it was interesting to see. And I also like the fact that she was also, I think she was holding at the beginning of that scene one of Viserys's dragons from his little model playset of Valeria. I really like that.
Yeah, you nailed it there. There's so much to really talk about in this scene. But I will, again, talking about how the 2 episodes are so tightly knit. That conversation last week did not leave me thinking that it would go in this direction. I thought Alicent very ignorantly was like, all roads leads to the war, so prepare. And in fact, it did this. She came together and it did this. Yeah. Because Rhaenyra now is going back like, well, I tried for peace, but that ain't rocking. Let's get those dragons going. And then Alicent's like, well, what if Aegon actually wasn't supposed to be the heir to the throne? Well, like, what if that last message wasn't for me? Let me read the text. Let me ask a few folks. Maybe I'm wrong about all of this, when in fact you were so righteous last week. So listen, I'll say this. Best friend relationships are complicated. So they are. and I know for women it's even more complicated. And then this is somebody who's just really is in the mix of just so much. And also I think she still is sort of, man, her story is crazy.
It is. It's really good.
The moon tea, but you were just not that long ago with Helena about the whole mother thing, and at this point now, it's safe to say that Alicent is really struggling to keep it all together, and we're seeing it being expressed in different ways. Aegon can't keep together, and we see it in like a very traditional way. We see Alicent right now potentially swirling, if you ask me. Like she's just really all over the place with this, and I think she's trying to clean it up by trying to get some answers, but
she's trying to keep it all together. That's what she's trying to do. And it's like, I feel like with her, it's like I think she's doing it for herself. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like she's trying to find this out. Like, is this what his words truly mean? Like, did he really want him to succeed for herself? Because the war is going to happen. She knows it. She even said later, like, his words mean nothing. And I really feel like she's just trying to do this for herself, basically. Like, kind of get the truth for herself. Because I feel like she's in the dark sometimes, a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
All right. So we talked about that. Questioning, as I mentioned, questioning King Viserys and wanting Aegon to succeed him. And when asking Grand Maester, he says, "Oh, never raised that to me," but that wasn't going to stop her. She had 2 more people to ask. At the council at Dragonstone, now Baela is there, and she's updating everybody about Crimson Cold's movements. No, Rhaenyra is there because obviously we know about her stealth mission to King's Landing. They also question her. Has she heard from her dad and Daemon, and what's his progress with the River Lords? Sir Alfred is he's just not for the shits. He's like there's always that one person who just always got to be combative about something. Anybody who work at any type of structural job, where and I don't mean structure, like I'm talking about like something like some office with some measure of hierarchy. There's that one person that's always got to shake the tree, always, and this is him. Like he just not happy about anything. There's some truth to what he's saying, but he doesn't come off in a very like smooth way with it.
No.
And then to your question from last week, why Rhaenys makes a comment. So I was like, well, the queen didn't name you the hand. I was like, oops.
I know.
But as I mentioned, you ain't going to talk to my man girl like that. King Cole comes in and said, what has come to this council? And I'm surprised he didn't come in, because this would have been way too cachet if they would have came in here and he would have said, silence everybody.
The scene where the daughter or Bela is just when he's like, "Why didn't you burn him when you had the chance?" He's like, "Why don't you go do it next time?"
Yes. Oh,
like,
I forgot about that.
Facts.
Hey, listen. The Game of Thrones universe here. I know some people have problem about black people being in this and whatnot. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care what generation, I don't care what planet, we gonna clap back.
Exactly.
The writers was like, so what should we add here? Like, hey, we'll take this one, okay? Just hold on. Let me get my little thing in there real quick. Yeah, you're right. That was hilarious. Like, I forgot about my notes. I definitely busted out laughing when I saw that. But anyway, yeah, you ain't gonna speak to my man lady like that. Anyway, House of Green, they're in the Groundlands now. They're growing their army battle after battle. Gwen and Kristen are leading the charge. And we see what's his name is father, who we'll mention in a little bit, but he stayed gang the entire time. And he spit at Kristen, says you're not fit for that white cloak. He gets beheaded, and then we get a raven that comes in, and Gwen thinks they're going to Harrenhal, only to hear that they're getting ready to go west, and west, as we know, is the plan to Rook's Rest. Now that raven obviously came from Aemon. It 1,000% had to be their whole their whole plan that was set in place, because we find out that the two of them, well, we might as well just talk about right now. So at King's Landing, they get word that Daemon has Harrenhal, and Aegon isn't happy about that, because he's like, that's what I wanted, that's what he's supposed to do. And Aemon's like, all right, let me go to the chalkboard real quick. And he's so sassy in a very low-key way. You can tell Aemon, he writes his chalk with like green or pink.
Yeah.
The white ain't gonna do him any good. But his plan is crazy good though. Like, I can't even lie. But he says, let's go to Rook's Rest. It's an easy target. We see the friction between the brothers here. And we also find out that Kristen Cole and Aemon were making moves without proper authority here. First things first, where did that alliance come from?
It came back. Well, they kind of did it in the other episodes. They were like kind of like talking behind his back. And that's when Otto Hightower came in, and he was like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, I feel like I also feel like Christian Cole and Aemon are the same. Like, I feel like they're the same person. Like, you know, and they're on the same wavelength. So I feel like they would gravitate towards each other to like kind of like plan something out. Like, you know. So that makes total sense why they were working together.
It's just crazy that Kristen, who is literally becoming one of my least favorite characters in all of television, because he just, but it's just crazy because I thought he was so loyal to the king, and he just got promoted his hand, and you're thinking he rocking with that promotion, and it didn't take that long to show you. What's really tacky about all of this is Kristen is like Aemon, because he honestly don't respect it. As a matter of fact, and we talked about, you said this last week, not only is he like Aemon, but the two of them are like Daemon. Whereas it's like, do y'all respect anybody?
Yeah, they're all like each other. It's insane.
Because like the fact that Kristen is definitely not aligned with Alicent, like that's definitely, you know, he's definitely this show portrayal to Aegon. Yeah, the shoe fits here. The shoe absolutely fits. Now, I don't know what to make of this. So Aemon starts to speak Targaryen.
Yeah,
Valyrians, thank you. Excuse me. And Aegon's isn't that sharp with his, and everybody at the table's kind of looking because they don't understand. They're kind of looking because they're waiting to see like what's going to be the response. Hey, Stevie, can you speak Spanish?
No.
Okay, so that's just gonna say it, because it's like me. I understand, like, but I always say I know enough Spanish to not get robbed. So when I hear a full-blown conversation, I'm kind of looking like, all right, facial expressions, what's happening? And I love like how they really paid that up. Like everybody's waiting for like the punchline, what's to make of it. And when it went in where it looks like the two brothers wasn't on the same page coming out of the conversation, it looks like Aegon was kind of like, all right, Aemon's right. So you got to imagine for somebody that doesn't understand language, like, well, yo, what was said here? Yeah. But I think Aemon, number one, obviously wanted to humiliate him because he just did it the other day.
Yes.
But he took it to a bigger scale. What else did you make of this sort of trade of words amongst the brother and humiliation? Because clearly somebody didn't finish taking their Valyrian classes here.
I thought this was like both of them. Like, I thought this was what you said, Aemon showing his brother, like, I am better than you at this. And he is. Like, I have always said it, like, since like season 1, maybe season 2, beginning of season 2, like, Aemon is a better choice for a king, quote unquote, than Aegon is, you know? And I feel like he was really showing him that. Like, he was kind of like putting him in his place. Like, yeah. I am better than you. And I feel like using like Valyrian and stuff like that is the way to show it, because like not Daemon, oh my god. Aemon was, you know, he studied Valyrian. Like, he knows the histories. He knows about being a leader or a ruler or whatever. And Aegon didn't do any of that. Aegon just, you know, drank and, you know, jerked off out of a window. You know, that's what he did. You know, he didn't do any of that. So I agree. He's just showing him I'm better. Yeah. And I'm always going to be better than
you. All right. So Alicent's in her chambers and Laura Lares shows up. Says, interesting that you missed the council, but he also notices the moon tea. But he updates her on everything. I do agree with his sort of perspective of us not getting Harrenhal was a loss for the greater good, because I sometimes I agree. Like, sometimes getting, a matter of fact, I mean, like, if you play Monopoly, I'm down with the analogies all day. But if you play the Monopoly, everybody's goal is to get Park Place in Boardwalk.
Yeah.
Because you land on them, you're fucked. That's it.
Yeah.
But I never go after them because that's just way too high of a risk for a big reward for sure. But if you get all the greens, all the reds, and hit that block, you're doomed there. And I think like this is the same philosophy. Is like, we get all these smaller ones, it amounts just as much as an impact as having just the big one, you know? So I do agree, like, them not getting that, and also everything that they talked about how Harrenhal is a little bit overrated. I'm landing city again. Their choice of going out to the smaller places have been better.
Yeah, and it's like, I think they say it in the episode too. It's like they want to they want it to be men and dragons. So like, the more men, and then you have dragons on your side, you know, it's a recipe for you winning a war.
Yep.
And that's kind of like what they did. If I read the books correctly, that's kind of like what Aegon did, the Conqueror, because they also, when he was like developing, you know, the Seven Kingdoms and things like that, like, he also had men and dragons that fought on his side. So not similar.
You got me interested, wanting to read the books.
You should.
See what's up with that Amazon real quick. So he says like, so Alicent, you're not seeming like yourself lately. And it's a lot, honestly. I mean, you could say it could be this whole, you know, moon tea thing. It could be the whole Helena thing. It could be, you know, her and Kristen Cole not being on the same page. It could be because Otto's not there. Yeah. It could be because she's just contemplating everything that Rhaenyra was saying, that, you know, what about peace? Also, what about Aegon really not supposed to be the heir to the throne here? So I think if Struss was a person, it should be Alicent. Like, the shoe fits on that one there. That's, again, her asking now. There's a lot of dialogue, but just to kind of sum it up, Laura Lares, get everybody's name right. Lares, yeah, okay. And I agree. Like, this is the most clear depiction way of understanding that, like, you may not be right. King Viserys all the way to the end, had one goal, and all of a sudden at the very end he changed his mind. And so they start to question, like, well, what would have made him change his mind? Are you saying because they wasn't really in love, but you can see like he's like, oh, you're sitting here thinking about him. Oh, y'all were really in love, huh? It's like, well, maybe not. It's like, oh, is that the reason why he changed his mind? Because y'all was really in love? Like, well, no, we all know that's not true. So I think she's understanding like, hey, there's no love. There was no reason for him to pivot. Why would he have done it unless it wasn't really what you thought it was, you know?
Exactly.
But I do agree that his, 80 years of peace, his philosophy and his visions are gone because there's 3 different sides to this story here. And it could have been resolved last week if you might have just, I don't know, just came to terms that like Rhaenyra may be right.
Yeah.
But now you are too late, and now she's already went back. I swear she's gonna try to meet with her again.
I hope so. It's gonna be wild if it happens.
Do you think that Otto and Alicent shows up at what's the face at
Rhaenyra
Dragonstone? Yeah, Dragonstone.
I hope so. That would be so crazy. Like, I hope Otto goes there at least.
Max is going to have to do all new graphics after that. They all new graphics after that. It's like, oh, it's really not against each other. They're actually on the same side.
Yeah, like just going up against. Well, I don't want to get to that part, but going against maybe another person who might be potentially a king. We'll see. I don't know, but.
So going to Harrenhal now. One thing about Daemon, he's gonna get a nap in, but he's down there. He looks like he sees something on the door. He grabs his sword. He's paranoid, and then we see Alicent Rivers, who was in his dream from last week, and she just breaks it all down about this being a cursed place. Asking has he had any experiences? Then also starts to really mess with his ego and his psyche a little bit, asking about him and his stance on his own claim, and the dysfunction in Harrenhal about his I guess you could say like his duty to draw army of men, but like this place is a little unorganized. So I don't know. She gives him a trippy drink because this whole episode is a psychedelic at this rate. And then we see him from being in that room with her to now at the table. And Sir William Blackwood is in there. This guy, man. We know that the Blackwoods, their whole motive is this feud with the Brackens. And so he understands even more now that there is really no loyal people. Everybody is self-motivated.
Yeah.
And if
that's all the show is self-motivation.
1,000%. And then we see another returning character, because one thing Daemon's going to do, Daemon's going to ensure, and Matt Smith, shall I say, he going to ensure that people get some checks here with his character. I mean, we see his deceased wife in Lena. Yeah. So at this point now, I think a lot of this is just kind of showing just what's on his mind, which is weird because it's not weird, but it's should I say, which is interesting because if he's seeing her, I mean, he's thinking about her
subconsciously,
and I think that's dangerous because if he is in love with her and then that's where his mind is at, that means that loyalty and that what we thought was a love or a union is definitely not. So
yeah, it's been a while since I saw the first season, so I don't know if they had like the best relationship like when they were together. So if it wasn't, maybe he's feeling a little bit guilty because of that too. I gotta watch the first season again. I should have done that before we started this.
Yeah, I mean, and in fairness though, I mean, I think this vision depicts that he wants himself to be the rightful ruler and king, and he wants his wife to be there. Yeah, that's what his vision was. He wanted it to be like that, So I don't know. Either way, these are intrusive thoughts here, because one minute you're killing your current lady, and now the second one you're like, oh, my old lady's back. So
yeah, I'm interested to see if we're gonna see more of her too, like how those play out, because that was just like one short scene. So I'm wondering if there's gonna be more.
Yeah.
Because we don't know when he's leaving this place. So
Trippy
she
Island.
did say you're gonna die here. So
Mhm.
we don't know.
Trippy Island. All right, so to Rook's Rest now, House of Green cutting down trees, and they are strategizing to move during the day. Gwaine is like, sir, do you not remember what just happened? And he thinks it's all madness. I think it's all madness. And it's crazy because he didn't, well, I think I know why, but let me finish this first. So, yes. Kristen Cole asked Gwen, "Are you afraid?" And he says, "No, worse, I'm rational," which is probably one of the funniest lines here. And he says, "We advance." So let's just talk a little bit forward here. So Gwen is in the shadow of everything that's out, or the dark shadow we want to call it, of everything that's happened. This plan that he's having, this sort of just what do they call it? Ambush, right? That he's setting up. He tells what's his name? He tells another person on the field. So somebody else know, because somebody else is looking like where the hell is aiming at. So we know that later. But he doesn't tell Gwen. And I wonder if he doesn't tell Gwen because he doesn't trust Gwen, which makes sense.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't. But it's interesting that, like, I don't know. It's interesting that you would, maybe that's how the plan has to work. You have to have everybody thinking you're going to do something madly insane.
Yeah.
In order for work. But he cut the trees down so that obviously Varats can sit down and lay and hide out later on. It's a crazy strategy, but damn good. What did you think initially when you saw them cutting down the trees, which was obviously creating visibility for them? And then they were like, we're marching now, because they think we're only going to move at dark, but if you move during the day, they won't see it coming. So yeah, what did you think about this whole setup of something crazy to come?
That's one thing. You can say a lot about Christian Cole. Like, he's not my favorite character, but this is like where he's strong at. This whole strategizing, preparing for a battle, things like that. This is his thing. This is what he's good at. And it's cool to see that part of him. Because all these other parts, you just see him being an asshole. So, it's good to see a different part. Now, he actually does know what he's doing. Maybe not as Hand of the King, but he is great at fighting and strategizing. So that's pretty cool. And in terms to the brother, like, I feel like he didn't tell him, because I feel like Christian Cole maybe feels like he's not important enough. Like, these two come from totally two different places of like classes. Like, High Towers are super like rich, super affluent family, things like that. So Gwaine is not used to this. He's not used to fighting. He's not used to being out in the field. He's a knight, but like, it's not the same as what Christian Cole is. Christian Cole is Dornish, so it's like he's been fighting like mostly all his life to get to where he is, because he's not a highborn. So he's used to this type of stuff. He's used to seeing it. So I feel like I feel like he's not keeping him in the loop. Also because, maybe it is better to have everybody on a different page, But then also I feel like he's not essential to his plan, or like, even like, you're not that important for this. This isn't your field, Go do something else. Like, basically. That's how I feel about that.
1,000%. I'm just wondering what's going to be the effects of Gwaine going back to report like how all this is being kept from him. I'm not sure. I mean, he's not like a regular authority.
Is still alive? Is he?
That's a good question. Like, they did not highlight his unless it was him that was the one that says that was telling everybody to meet in the castle. That could have been him on the field yelling at when Kristen woke up and somebody was like, we all move. It could have been him. Like, but I don't know. That's a good point. I totally forgot if he's still alive, because blood was shed. Yeah. Okay. All right. So quickly, because totally forgot about this one scene here back at King's Landing, because we see Aegon, who's just at the table, and of course he has nothing to contribute to the conversation. So he sits down, he tells everybody that they bore him, and he basically just storms off, because I don't know, maybe this is a king's hissy fit, but he leaves out. And when he leaves out, he runs into Alicent, who is looking for Viserys' book. And he said, I had them all removed. And Alicent's like, wait, what? Like, why would you do that? And with that being said, he says, like, I didn't burn them, I just had to remove. So then they go and a little bit deeper into this conversation now, because we see that Aegon is struggling with authority. And he says, they don't think what I care. Like, nobody. He says, the council, Aemon, nobody cares what I think. And Alicent is like, well, I guess she took that and was like, cool, we don't.
Yeah.
I had hope. I just had hope you would have just been at least a half a king that your father's was. You know, much like you just said a second ago, she's in Hightower. She says, you should be seeking opinions from us, although myself, even the council, like, you know, but it's okay because, you know, you don't have no clue of the sacrifices that was made to get you on that throne. And he's like, fine, Mom, what do you have me do? It says, do nothing. What did you think of the scene?
I liked it. This was probably one of my favorite scenes too in the show, in this episode. Like, I thought it was so good. I like the fact, well, it's like when he's in the throne room, or not the throne room, wherever that place is that they meet. I forgot what it's called already.
The council room.
The council room, yeah. Like, you can see like him getting visibly upset because like everybody is giving Aemon praise, everyone's giving Kristen Cole praise, but nobody is talking about little old Aegon, and he's taking a little tantrum because no one cares about Aegon, because he's trying, like, maybe he's trying to live up to Aegon the Conqueror, who is like this big, he's like a big deal, you know, Aegon the Conqueror. He shares his name, he wears his armor, you know, I feel like he wants to be remembered or be liked like him, you know, and I feel like that's where his little hissy fit came from. Nobody's talking about him. And then like, and then later, like, you know, Alicent was right. She's like, you don't know nothing about being a king at all. You don't know nothing about how to rule. You're not, like, you should be listening to us, like, because we know better. These people have been doing it for years. You're just a little kid. You took somebody who has never been a hand of the king, doesn't know anything about politics or government or whatever. Like just sit down and shut up. And that's like what, like, kind of like the king before him, Viserys, was like that too. Like, it was peaceful because the king before him made it peaceful, and he just didn't do anything. Like, you know, he just was a king. You know, he made babies and he built this model tower, and that's it. It's model Valeria, and that's all he did, and he died. Like, that's what he did, and they're telling him to do the same thing. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I liked it.
All right, so going back to Dragonstone now. So Rhaenyra and Sir Darkland has come back from their mission from King's Landing, and good old Jace is here, just puffing his chest out. And listen, I don't know if it's because, like, you know, his only brother is gone, and the other kids are gone, so maybe he feels there's something to, like, I don't know, maybe he feel like there's something to prove. Also, I think it could do a lot with, like, Baylor, like, being so effective right now. He does give her praise, but, like, maybe he feels like he needs to step up in a way.
Yeah,
because he's definitely trying to insert himself a little Aegon-ish, shall I say, in terms of, like, want to, like, be, like, notable in his actions. But
I agree.
With that being said, they update about Cole, and his army has grown. Duskendale has fallen, and then of course Sir Darkland wants to know if his father, what's the status of his father, and he died staying a real G, keeping it 100, you know, kept his oath, and that got him beheaded by Kristen Cole. I'm telling you right now, there's gonna be a receipt for that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mysaria looks on. I wonder what that is to make, because you got to watch out for those. Got to watch out for those whispers. But I think, honestly, she's gang, so I think she's just going to have some advice. She's going to have a strategy of sorts, you know. Listen. I tell you right now, I don't think anybody's going to be able to beat Aemon. I think they're going to have to try what was mentioned before about the best way to kill a dragon is or killing a dragon rider, they're going to probably have to try something like that. Like they're going to
Like
have
poison.
to like poison of sorts. Also, too, we forgot to mention last week the Easter egg of the eggs of the dragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Really cool. I
that was
totally
cool.
forgot about that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we know
You
those
know they always got to throw that in there. Some dragon eggs stuff.
Yep.
Like.
So
it looked like them too.
It did.
Was like
it absolutely
wondering.
did. It's just so everybody likes what's her name so much that we knew those were the eggs she got on her wedding day. So like you just kind of just like I know what it is. I forgot we had to like make it a thing because I just thought it was just such an assumed day. But nonetheless, so Jace puffs his chest out at his mom. So where have you been? Vanished without a word. First of all, I had to say, like, now listen, little man, you lucky you her son, because anybody else was not going to get the most sincere response back from the queen. She's just kind of like, I went on someplace and I thought it was best that y'all didn't know. It was basically, she said, like, it had to be that way. What's also interesting too is Rhaenys was the one who essentially put her up to this. And she gained game because she didn't show face at all about knowing this and kind of was just kind of like whatever about it, So yeah, man, it's gonna be sad when we talk about it now. But she said she went there for a peace. And she said before I knew that it was going to end my father's 80-year run of peace, I had to make sure there was no other path. And so that's what she sought out to do. Is to say either I win, claim, or I die. And son, of course, Jade's gonna be the first to say we stand ready. So anyway, she wants to know why Rook's rest, and they assume that Cole is daring us to act, and they said we need to send a dragon, and this is the first time we see her a little more acceptable of that, and she was like, okay, so cool. So she says there was those who may have mistaken my confidence for weakness. Let that be their undoing. I will go. So she ready to go, only until we get this. Oh man, Rhaenys is gang, man. She's like, nah, I'm going. She says Melis is our largest dragon. Keyword is our largest dragon. And he's no stranger to battle. I'll go. No one had anything to say. She gave, honestly, because she tried to keep her little love thing on the low. She really wanted to swipe my man chest. Was like, don't worry, baby. Don't worry, baby. But I mean, like, it's essentially, it's crazy because I feel like beyond her being most qualified, it is one of those type of things. I hate superhero complex because it's so cliche at times, especially at times where like you can just escape. But this is the first time ever that I was kind of like, damn, this actually may be that cornerstone to them shifting the battle and the favor back to the Targaryens to win, House of Red to win on this note, because I think with her sacrifice at this rate should get everybody on the same page. I guarantee the next council meeting, there's not going to be no arguing, no disagreements. Ain't gonna be my man out there. Ain't gonna be Jace doing his shenanigans. Ain't gonna be my man out there trying to do his whole thing. I think everybody gonna be on the same page. So
yeah, I think so. And also, it's like with Jace too. Like he was like, "Send me out there. Let me go." And Rhaenyra's like, "No, sit down. You can't. You're not strong enough."
Nothing about like it being her son's like you're just not qualified. So let's just put that to rest right now. You did one little mission. You out here want to go to battle now.
Exactly, and I do agree with you with the Aegon stuff. When I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, it's like the same. They kind of feel like the same thing. It's opposites of each other."
Yep. Knowing that Vhagar's is out there, like y'all better stop playing. Anyway, we see Aegon, he's drinking and he's growing impatient, and we only know that is for things to come. Now, Jace and Rhaenyra, this is you just had to just not be paying attention if you didn't know what was coming here. This was easily the most easily predictable scene of events to come, because soon as she looked at the dragon skull, you listen, it's a duality of season 1, and she says, Jace, there's something I must tell you, a secret I must tell you, and she gives him the story of Aegon the Conqueror, and the Song of Ice and Fire. Talked about how she was always supposed to be the protector. Viserys chose her to succeed him. And she says, I believe that I alone was meant to be the protector. We also see Cole and them moving on Rook's Rest while this is happening. Aegon and Rhaenys are both suiting up the ride. And, you know, again, talking about Aegon the Conqueror's dream, the Song of Ice and Fire. So for a moment, you might have thought that she might have been transferring a measure of who's going to be. I mean, everybody knows that Jason's supposed to be here to the throne after her. Yeah. But I think this is her declaration of saying, like, I'm getting out there one way or another. I just hope you know it. I was always supposed to do this, and I've made peace with this. We've seen her kind of in shambles. This is crazy how she went out there looking for peace. She didn't get peace, and now she's like, all right, bet. Suit up. Boot up, get the strap. Let's do what we gotta do. But what did you think about, which again is another cornerstone to all events to come?
Yeah, I really feel like that she's like prepping for like the worst. Like she sets up her kids, and she is basically giving the story that's passed down from future Targaryen kings to her son. And I feel like she is preparing for, like, I might die because I'm ready to fight. Like I might not make it, so you need to know this information so you can maybe pass this down later down the road. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you just, it's a lot, because like for her to even do this and how much it meant for her, and that's a very important moment if you go back and look at that from season 1, and just how much it meant to her and what it made her to be. I think by giving that to Jace, I mean, I guess it's gonna be more or less to see what his response is beyond this now, because he was a little Aegon-ish for a second, but let's see if that kind of stirs him on the right path. But here we go. It is the battlefield, baby, and it is about to go down. So from all the stuff that we saw on Rook's Rest, from the trailers, and we had, you know, seeing a big battle scene from some of the little footage, we see now everything from those previews is going to occur in Rook's Rest now. So battle's going down, and while the soldiers on the ground, they see a dragon's coming, and this is ultimately the battle of Baby Sunfire, because that's what it's going to be. Meleys and Vhagar. Like, all of this is to come, but we'll talk about it as it goes into place now. So first things first is the plan. The plan is being set into place. We know that Cole has a dragon sitting in rest, and it's Aemon sitting where those trees were cut. They let Aemon and Vhagar chill there. So the plan is there, and Cole is anticipating that attack. I guess they got to coordinate it, whatever. But like, he's sitting there like, okay, where are you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When they see that Aegon is at battle, they're also kind of like, man, this is crazy. This is so crazy. People are like, the king is on the field. This is your plan, Cole?
Right?
Like, nah, this wasn't my plan. But this was also not a part of the ambush as well, too. So we have Baby Sunfire. We got the monster of all monsters in Vhagar just chilling. And they're thinking this dragon is going to be their backup to solidify them taking down and claiming this castle in Rook's Rest. And while that's happening, Quain is still looking nervous, like, what is happening here? But they're still looking for Aemon. And then when that happened, it just, first of all, what is your emotions at right now for everything that's occurring? Like, where were you at mentally when you start seeing things unfolding?
I'm like, oh yeah, finally a dragon battle. That's so cool. We've been waiting to see that. I love that. But then when Aegon came, I'm like, oh god, this isn't end badly. It was like mixed of emotions. Like, oh, dragon battle, cool. Oh god, someone's gonna die. Oh god, Aegon's gonna fuck shit up. Like he's gonna fuck up the plan. He might die. You know, Melees might die. It was just like a whole like what's happening, what's gonna happen. Like it was hard to pinpoint, but literally like I knew something was gonna go badly. Like I knew a dragon was gonna die. You know, one of them. We don't know. You know, like I just knew. Yeah.
All dropped the entire time. So yeah, Baby Sunfire in the air. Melees is there, and when Baby Sunfire thought, and just when he thought Aegon thought he had Melees, he didn't, and it just goes bad. And then Lord Stratton, the king, sees another dragon, and that is when we all knew shit had hit the fan. And we see Aemon going at them, and you, my friend, thought it was about to be a tag team, and I knew it a mile away. I said, "Oh no, my man has an opportunity to eliminate his brother," and he called it out with no hesitation. And with that, we see that I won't say he absolutely deliberately went after him, but it also could have hit Rhaenys as well too on Melees. So but anyway, like that
it just shows that he doesn't care. Like, you know,
it doesn't. Strategical too. But then this is where like the feels, because when Rhaenys could have left, she was almost given a pass here. She decided not, and she came back and wanted to attack. The one thing that I think maybe I can't be the only one that had picked this up, but like her and Melees are synced. They looked at each other a couple of times like, what's good? Like we doing this, right? And I think that like declaration of like commitment is like when you really know like they're loyal, and they knew they were going to die, and they knew they were going to fight no matter what. So she comes back, and you know, when she came back and when they kind of looked at each other, there was a little tear in her eye too, because I think she just knew.
She knew she was gonna not make it. I mean, she was going against Vhagar at that point. Like, I feel like no one's getting out alive when you go against him alone, at least.
Facts. We also see when everything goes down too, Kristen Cole is on the ground, so there's a small little scare that this guy may have met his match here. But yeah, with that, she comes back around because she could have left again. She's hurt. They circle the block one more time, and they're looking around to see where Vhagar's at, because it looked like they had one up on Vhagar, and it's just kind of like, oh no, we know how this goes. They built that dragon up way too much for it to just be losing at a small. It's a big scale battle in terms of the viewers, but this is a small significant battle considering, like, I mean, I know that Aegon's out there, but like it ain't until we see Alicent out there, till we see Rhaenyra's out there, until we realize like the real big battle, and obviously Aemon will be there with Vhagar as well too. But yeah, once again, she had two opportunities to roll out, and they didn't. And the Rider and the Dragon synced, knew that they were going to die on that battlefield together. And it is a sad moment, because the moment they thought that they had Vhagar down, they couldn't find Vhagar. Vhagar does a sneak attack.
He jump scared me.
Definitely did, and chews him off at the neck. And even in the dragon's last breath, looks at the Rider, and it's sad. And
it's really sad.
I'm calculating, like, can she survive this? Is there any chance? What can she do? And they made it very definitively clear that there's no way she's coming from out of that. So it's a sad moment, and you gotta give a shout out to Rhaenys, just a real one, MVP for the first 4 episodes without a doubt.
Oh yeah,
Cole is alive, and it looks like that they had won this battle, but a lot of people had taken an L. A lot of people burnt to ashes, and I think what's telling is him looking at the one armor and noticing it was nothing but ashes. is going to be his moment of understanding that like this whole dragon war is more detrimental than just most people think, because you think like you have a dragon, get out there and we win, but it's like nah, it's casualties to everybody. And as they mentioned in the last episode, the more the dragons are desiring for war, everybody lose, because everybody can be turned to ash. And I think that was probably his moment to conniption of like, damn, like I get it.
They don't care. Anybody could get it.
So he looks exactly. So he goes to look for the king and he sees Aemon. And Aemon has his sword drawn. And he says, Aemon, don't. Because I don't know what to think of it. I guess we'll talk about it in one quick second. Cole sees him and says, where's the king? And we get a glimpse of the king completely burned to ashes. Now, unless they have a Darth Vader suit available, that's GG's for my man Aegon. That's see you in the lobby, sir. You're gonna have to start over because that's it for you. So what did you think that Aemon was getting ready to do? You think he was gonna do the definitive kill? Was that what he was looking for? So he wanted to ensure this was a wrap.
Because like even I don't think Aegon's dead. I don't know. I feel like with a character like Aegon, like you gotta make his death a little bit more, you know? Like I feel like they just, left it off, so he could be alive, he may not be. We'll see. But I really feel like Aemon was really thinking about killing him. Like making sure he's dead. Or killing him in general if he's still alive. Like, because Targaryen's got that tough skin, for the fire and stuff like that. So they might be able to withstand some heat. I thought he was crushed under it. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, the acid from the dragon, the fire, is either way. And me personally, I think like I love how the show gives you cliffhangers, only to assume that the next episode is going to be dealing with the fate of a character, and then they'll be on to like something completely different. They're like, nah, he's dead. Yeah, whatever. We're not going to. We don't need to make that a whole thing. We got other stuff to cover. So, I think it is way more telling if Aegon is dead here. And
do you think he's dead?
I do, and I hope he is. I do, and I hope he is, because I think it makes things way more interesting. Because now, where does authority go to? Does it go to Aemon? Does it go to Alicent? With Aegon gone, does Otto come back? It's a lot to really put into place here in terms of what happens. And Alicent won't care if he's gone, but I don't know. Helena's gonna be free too. She's gonna be like, yes.
Yeah, she really is. He's not great. Like, oh gosh.
So yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot this episode, man. Aemon's portrayal of Aegon potentially being dead. Rhaenys dead. We lost 2 dragons in baby Sunfire and Meleys. Vhagar is still that top dog. Adam and Allen's, we learned about their fate. This whole battle at Rook's Rest, I mean, is critical. The king may still be alive too, by the way. So
could be. Yeah.
That could be telling, because somebody's going to have to recount what happened.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting about when that word gets back about, I think when you hear about like Rhaenys's like sort of measure of heroism, that she could have left twice and decided to come back. It's going to definitely seek for action. I also think that Rhaenyra is definitely going to be a little emotional about this.
Oh yeah.
And there's going to be a measure of revenge on her end from that. So it's really a lot.
Especially you feel like it's like with Rhaenyra, like I feel like I could see her feeling a little bit guilty, because it's like people were telling her like do dragons, and I feel like I could feel like seeing her second guessing herself, because she could have done the dragon stuff like a while ago when they weren't ready for it, but now it's time and they've been preparing all this time, and now she lost somebody because now they're more prepared than while she was just trying to go the peaceful route. So I could totally see her feeling guilty, but this well, I can't wait to see what happens next episode and how everything from this episode pans out. because it was a great episode. This was really good.
I feel like anytime we see the black dread shown, you already know some shit going down. It's just something about that skull. You're like, yeah, she's about to go crazy. And, you know, we're going to see. This episode was crazy. And we can't wait to hear what you all think about it below in the comments. Definitely let us sound off for episode 4. Insane episode. So much action. So much emotions. Rest in peace to a real one. And be gone, King. Your time is over. GG's, my guy. But until next week, we appreciate everybody watching and tuning in. We'll see y'all back for more House of the Dragon.